This piece sat here without legs in the workshop for a couple of months. And it's not because I ran out of time, although I was doing other stuff. I just needed to have it here before I could figure out exactly what the legs were going to be. And that's not some failure of planning, although it did delay the timeline a bit. Some pieces just kind of work that way. When I sent this design to the client, I didn't send it legless. I put a placeholder leg in, and I said right from the start, the leg might be something like this. I knew that the height was roughly correct, and I even had some of the basic geometry that I ended up using, but I knew that it wasn't right. I just also knew that there wasn't a ton of point me refining that leg design on the computer, because ultimately it needed to be built with this piece in front of me. I'll show you what leg I sent to the client, and then I'll show you what I actually made. So this leg had a curved rail and some fairly boxy angled legs. It was roughly the right language, roughly the right dimensions, but it didn't do justice to the cabinet itself. So these are the legs I ended up with. And I'll chat through a couple of the design decisions that got me from where I was to where I am now. The thing that didn't feel right about those boxy legs that were connected up to the underside of the cabinet, well, there was a couple of things, but it always felt like the cabinet was too heavy, the cabinet was really well resolved, and the legs just felt like they were attached. So I wanted to separate that leg system from the cabinet, and I also wanted to make sure that the legs felt like they had the same amount of care put into the joinery and the faces so that they looked like they were worthy of a fine piece of furniture, not just an afterthought. By lowering this main stretcher bar or rail away from the cabinet, so the cabinet sits up on these bits here, it gives it about 50 millimeters of air. And what that did, in my mind, was it allowed the cabinet to be its own thing without adding additional timber directly underneath it, which kind of increased the weight of that carcass. And it also allowed the legs to be their own thing by separating them from the top. So that was a really important step, giving some air between the legs and the cabinet. The second most important thing that I did, I think, for these legs was adding this transitional curve from the leg component into the rail. By adding a radius above and below, it made it feel like it belonged more with the cabinet, because the cabinet also has quite a lot of curves in it. There is the curved side panels, the curved top, a gentle curve here on the handles. And so it made the legs feel more finished and of the same design thinking as the cabinet itself. third thing that I spent a bunch of time on was figuring out the exact placement of these shorter cross rails on either side. I experimented with them being about the same size as this main rail, but it kind of made the whole base feel too heavy, and it added this belt of timber around underneath the cabinet, which I didn't like. And so I knew that this smaller rail here, it needed to be subordinate. It needed to be less important visually than the main front rail, because this main front rail was telling the main part of the story. And so by making this rail on the side smaller, obviously that makes it feel less important, makes it feel subordinate. I also dropped it lower than this main front rail. And when you look at this base, it becomes clear that this is more of a support rail and this is more of the main rail. And those kind of tweaks helped the base feel resolved and feel like it wasn't competing with the cabinet while still being a beautiful piece in its own right. The last thing that I spent a lot of time on, which should have been simpler than it was figuring out what edge treatment, whether it was chamfering or round over, all of these members would get. Now, ultimately what I chose was more or less the same edge treatment as the rest of the cabinet doors, just a little bit smaller. And that should have been really obvious, but I had to do a lot of tests to figure out exactly what I wanted. Luckily, I was able to do some of those tests on the back of this leg assembly because the rear will never really be seen. Now, the back isn't messy, but it does have a really big radius on it, which I really liked in theory. But when I placed it under the cabinet, this cross rail, this really long rail with a really aggressive round over, felt softer, less sturdy, and less important than the cabinet. And so ultimately it wasn't the right choice. But that's at the back now. I don't mind it. And also it's never really seen from that angle because this piece will be up against a wall. What I ended up using was a really small, very, very shallow chamfer on the top and bottom of this rail. And that essentially matches the edge treatment that are on the Rowland style doors and some of the other components. I did keep the really large round over on the outside of those legs, which gave me some of that softness and also matched the rounded ends on the actual cabinet itself. I know some really good makers who don't feel like they know how to design things. And I can understand that feeling. I don't have a design degree. I don't even have any formal woodworking training. And none of these decisions that I've made are right. There's no correct way of doing this, although there might be some rules. But all of this for me just comes from building lots of pieces and looking at something for a long time and thinking, that doesn't look right, and then trying to figure out how to fix it. And often there might be 4 or 5 different ways to fix it. And my way of fixing it might rub you the wrong way. And that's why this is my design. So I think it's important to realize that almost everything is subjective. And what I'm trying to create is a piece that I'm really proud of. And I know that I've thought of every single piece and every single decision has come from somewhere and it has a reason. Sometimes that feels like overthinking. I spent a long time thinking about radiuses. However, it doesn't mean that you have to have some sort of special education to do it. You just have to grab the piece of wood and look at it and say, is this right yet? Do I like it? Would I like it better if I did this thing? And sometimes that means you need to make a prototype so that you can destroy it, so that you can add a weird edge to it to decide that you hate it. And maybe that prototype isn't the whole piece, but it's just a segment of the leg. And I did that in this case. I made bits and pieces of the legs in different materials to test the radiuses, to test the edge profiles, and to test generally how it all went together. So don't feel like you don't know how to design. just figure out, do I like this thing? Would I like it more if I did this? And that's design. One last thing about design that I think every designer should be able to relate to. The key step that took me from my old legs and catalyzed into these new legs was actually getting really frustrated and looking at a ton of images of cabinets that I really liked. And they had all kinds of different bases, but it got me out of the track that I was in and into a new track. And all of that was, for this piece, was separating the rail from the cabinet, lowering this main rail so that it sat 50 mil off the base of the cabinet. There are millions of cabinets that do this. It's not that unique. And this base hasn't copied any one design. But that one change and me then integrating it into this design was what made everything else make sense. So don't be afraid to go and look for inspiration. I don't have years of studying design at a design school to figure out what era this came from or what other designers did this first or what cabinet this is famous from. I can't tell you that. But I looked at some images and thought, that is the key. That is what is making those leg systems work and this one not work. And maybe that is copying, but for me, that is just part of my education. So I think it's okay to not know exactly where a piece is going or exactly how you're going to finish it. I think it's worth building it anyway. Get as far as you can and then just look at the actual piece. The design on the computer or on paper can't tell you everything. So often I've looked at something on the computer and it looks wrong and flat and doesn't have what it needs to be a good piece. And that's because it's not a piece. You're looking at lines on the computer screen and the timber's not there, the material's not there. So make the piece. Even if you don't know how it's going to be finished, just make it. And then maybe along the way, you'll figure out the rest of it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel. There'll be some links down below to some of the products I've used along the way. I hope you've enjoyed the series on making this cabinet. There's a bunch of videos in our feed that go into a lot of detail about other aspects of how this were made. So I'd love it if you would check them out too. If you want to see the rest of my work, my company is called Douglas Fur Design and I have a website. There'll be a link down to that as well. I accept commissions from clients all over Australia and sometimes the world. I love doing this, I love making pieces, and I hope I can make pieces for people that they love as well. Thanks for watching.